Hi, everybody. Welcome to Am I the Asshole podcast. I'm Danny Vega, joined by my lovely and lovable co-host. That's right. Remix time,
wow,
baby.
Remix.
Sarah Levine. Sarah, how are you today? You seem rather busy, which I'm really jealous and impressed by.
Well, I just have a workout class at 11, and I'm also at my parents' for Hanukkah, so.
Oh, it's Hanukkah.
Yes.
Okay. You know, yesterday you didn't text me back and I was in a very bad place, so this doesn't reflect on
Oh
you
my
at
God,
all.
I'm
But I was
sorry.
like, no, don't be sorry. I don't know why I really spiraled yesterday. A lot of the crying chart that my analysts kind of keep was insane. We thought crying had dipped off.
Oh no. And then you just got a surprise.
I know. Well, I think I'm very lonely right now. I don't know what to do with Corona, but let's go back to that. So how was Hanukkah?
It's good. I mean, so we're celebrating like tonight. And so we're going to open some gifts, light some candles. I did light some candles in my apartment this year, which I've never done because I was always too afraid that it would burn down because I was in a pre-war apartment. Happy to report nothing burned down. We're all good.
So, I mean, just help me understand a little bit. I actually know more, I think, about other Jewish holidays like Passover. I know there's like kind of a big central meal, but yes. Hanukkah is over a series of days. Yes. So how does that actually kind of play out?
Yeah, it's a good question because my friend asked me this too. And it honestly just depends on the family. I mean, some families like make a big deal about celebrating the first night. Some do the last night. We kind of used to do both of that when we were all in the house. Now that we're all adults, my parents are just like, you know, whenever you can get together within the next 8 days is fine with us. So I think tonight is the fourth night. So we just chose a random day.
Well, but so yesterday, like, what did you actually do? Yesterday was not the primary day. This sounds already way better than Christmas, by the way. This is Coachella.
I mean, literally yesterday we just lit the candles and then ordered in from an Italian restaurant. I mean, the Italian restaurant was just us needing dinner. It didn't have anything to do with Hanukkah. But yeah, you light the candles every night. Some families give like presents or a small present. My mom didn't do that this year. So it just depends.
That's the trope, right? Is that Jewish kids wish they had Christmas, or then I've heard comics
I've never wished I had
like,
Christmas, honestly.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, I guess what I've heard is like there's like Jewish kids who have one Jewish parent and one Christian parent, and they're like, I get the best of all worlds because
that is true. The only thing that I will say about Christmas is that it is so boring if you don't celebrate Christmas. Like, it sucks. Everything's closed.
Right. Well, normally that would be true, of course.
Right. Now everything's just closed. So you guys all know how it feels. Ha!
That's kind of a fun spin. Like, Corona is just Christmas, everybody. This is what it's like to be Jewish on Christmas.
That's a fun thing. Except you can do takeout, and then that's all you got.
Yeah,
that's what you got.
To China. Normally, Chinatown is a good escape route, and now Chinatown is a ghost town. Yeah. So
bummer.
Well, that's great. I mean, I'm definitely very jealous. I'm not going to see my family this year. My bro is going to come over.
That's
We're going to
nice.
order another pie cake in.
Oh my God,
which is this monstrosity, you guys. This, I guess it's like a website promoted to death on my Instagram. They cracked my ass. So it's like a website where you can order like ridiculous desserts. And on the fourth time I saw this ad, I was like, okay, you got me. I'm going to spend $100 on a pumpkin, pecan, cinnamon spice cake covered in apple buttercream pie cakein, which is like a play off turducken.
But do they have new flavors for the holidays, or it's the same?
They do. I'm so happy you asked. They have a Christmas pie cakein. I don't know the contents by heart yet. I'm still memorizing. But it is actually, I know they added another layer, which I think is a really big deal because, 3 kinds of cake in one bite is honestly a little sparse. So let's really turn it up a notch.
Love that. You're getting more for your money.
I am in a bit of, and I want to ask you because I feel like you're very paranoid and you're very aware, and like, I don't know, I'm miserable. I was really miserable yesterday. I don't know if I'm like over isolating. I'm like kind of losing my head, and then I'm like getting depressive. I had a show on Friday. And there's this really cute comic, and I just kind of flirted with her, and it went terribly. She didn't give me anything back. Ouch. And I just totally bombed. But like, And like normally whatever, you know, it's like, and I wasn't inappropriate or anything. I said like one kind of overtly flirtatious thing to her, and it was inept, but it wasn't even a good flirt, but it was like obvious what I was doing. But I just felt myself feeling very desperate, and I didn't like that. And I'm like, what is that? I was feeling so much better. I was starting to feel me again. And so anyway, I just wanted to ask, what are you doing? You're so busy. I'm jealous of your busyness.
I'm not.
What are we allowed to do?
Like, that's the thing. I'm not doing busy? Anything. I just have like a Zoom workout class. I mean, that's like kind of all I'm doing.
Well, why didn't you respond to my text of the MAGAs chanting "Kill the GOP"? I thought that was so funny.
Okay, because my mom was picking me up at that time, and I don't usually watch videos, so I have to like make a time to watch videos.
So fair. I'm the same way.
Oh my God, really? Yeah. So I was like, oh, I'll get to this later. And then I honestly just forgot.
That's so fair. I'm sorry I'm being this petty. I just really was in a meltdown yesterday.
Just
and
tell
I was
me
like,
that
Sarah,
and I'll respond. Oh my gosh.
I know. I didn't want to cry for help it, but I was like, even like Sara is a corona maniac and even she's out there having fun. I don't know why I pictured you on a date. Oh, it's
like,
it's because I saw your tweet and I was like, oh my God, Sarah's having the time of her life. Right. I'm doing nothing. What should I be doing? You know, comics are doing shows. You saw me tweeting
about dating being like shitty and then you thought I was having the time of my life.
I know. It was hard. It was stupid. I was in a really horrible place.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
So like, I know. Well, I don't know. I'm channeling it. So I like exercise and I feel a lot better today. I'm hanging out with my friends today. Like my only two friends. That's good.
Yeah, it's so nice out. I'm actually really sad that I'm at home. Don't tell my parents because I feel like this is the last day where I could like socially distance with my friends in a park until March.
That's great. See, that's what I need to do. I have more friends, but like I think a combination of being in this 5-year relationship, living in the Upper East Side, I have some friendships I need to tend to, and then it's like this awkward Corona time. So I just feel a little disconnected. I feel like my circle is very small right now, and then not going to comedy shows kind of prevents me from the more casual, like, hey, good to see you. What's up? Right. And that kind of interaction tends to lead to a like, oh, let's grab lunch or something.
I see.
And then, yeah, like I'll even have like some girls who are watching my Insta stories and I'm like, I don't even know how to broach this. And like, honestly, like legitimately, some of these girls I would like totally date, but also would just be down to like grab coffee with. And I'm just like all self-conscious and insane right now.
I mean, it's hard also because like indoor dining is closed. It's going to snow next week. Like the universe, like the door is closing. It's like Indiana Jones and the door is like sliding closed and you got to slide under it or... That's it. Like,
I've started yet another juicy self-development book I wanted to talk about a little bit. So the title of the book is I Hear You, the surprisingly simple skill behind extraordinary relationships.
Great.
So, well, what's the premise? Fortunately, I've kind of found in recent times, I've found the phrase, I don't feel heard to be something. So this book kind of caught my eye. I was like, I don't feel heard is a great thing to say. Because it's not accusatory, really. You're just saying like, I don't feel heard. And you're kind of giving them the little tip. Like, I just want you to express that you hear me. And this guy kind of tells the story of going on a date that was kind of the what allowed him to understand this concept. He was on a date with this girl and you know, she was very fun and attractive when they first spoke. And then he's on this date and he's just really bombing with her. She's not opening up. She's not talking. Everything he says, he just can't get momentum, kind of like me on Friday night. And he's going nowhere. And finally he goes, well, you know, how's your family? He's just drowning. So he's like searching for random topics. And she goes, well, you know, and she just kind of starts pouring out all this stuff. And he kind of describes some of the specific strategies he uses, like, you know, just saying empathetic things like, I understand where you're coming from, things like that. And this date that was going so terribly kind of turns around because I think with her on her side, like she had all this family stuff weighing heavy on her. She didn't want to just go into it. But since he asked, she kind of had that freedom. And he said it was a very connective experience.
That's nice.
Yeah, so I've only read one chapter of the book, but I thought this was very fascinating. There's a portion where they did this study. These researchers kind of took their laboratory and they made it into like a, you know, makeshift bed and breakfast. Mm-hmm. And they had all these kind of couples spend the night or whatever. And what they kind of discovered is that people have these little interactions. He calls them bids.
Okay.
And these little bids are like kind of like they seem really trivial, right? So it literally be something as simple. The example they give is like, wow, check out that car. And these little bids, right? So you can imagine a guy saying that to his wife, and she could say something like, whatever.
Yes.
And that's like a negative thing on the bid. Then there's also a neutral kind of response, which is like, oh, okay. That's good that you like that kind of a response, not really shitting on it, but not really going with that person. And then there's the positive bid, which is like, oh, wow, that is cool.
Yes.
To put it in improv terms, kind of yes-anding it.
I was thinking exactly that. Yes, and.
Yeah. And it really is that simple. And this was the insane part. Okay. What they found is that couples that had a certain percentage of these, they actually call the positive bids turn toward bids, right? And it kind of makes sense because you're kind of like turning toward them emotionally. Yeah. They found that couples who had divorced during the 6-year follow-up period after the study had these turn toward bids, positive bids, 33% of the time as responses, okay? In contrast, the couples who remained together after the 6-year period had these turn toward positive bids 87% of the time.
That makes sense to me because it's like, I mean, I see this play out too, where it's just like, you could like take constant little digs, or you could just like let it go and be like, yeah, that's cool, and just move on.
Exactly. I think there's lots of stuff on this kind of note that I've run into before. It's actually interesting. I'd love to see how this guy would handle this, because I know I've heard an other fact where it's like you need to have some kind of majority of positive interactions, but they can't all be positive. Otherwise, it's like too much. But I guess with these little bids, I think the kind of key here is that they're not heavy interactions. They're kind of just like stupid
it's dumb
like,
little throwaways, but like I feel like if you're constantly getting like sort of shit on for your dumb little throwaway comments, it's I mean, it just adds up and it just makes you feel beaten down.
Exactly. Yeah, I think that's how I would try to rectify these two stats, because I think it is important, and it does ultimately build respect when someone kind of will push back on you or not just go with you, but like in terms of just being like, whoa, look at that car, like these eggs are delicious, and just like silly stuff.
Yeah, it's just like
it's sort of like, do we need to have a spirited kind of interaction?
Yeah, about everything, like just let me have this, Yeah,
just let me have this. That's a good way to put it. All right, I do want to flex on one thing, and we'll start to get into the juice here. Go. Sarah, I don't know if you know, I've been tweeting insanely I
did notice that. You've been tweeting a lot.
I've been tweeting a lot, and I've been tweeting a lot on our podcast Twitter, and some of it does bomb people. I'm not going to lie. I'm kind of trying my hand at advice writing or self-development writing, and probably a lot of it is very transparent, where you're like, oh, Danny, you're clearly writing this to yourself, and you're totally right. Like, I'm not trying to play like I'm a prophet. I'm really just trying to write like little affirmations for myself ultimately.
Yeah, that's fine.
But we'd love it if you followed us, AITA pod at AITA pod. But anyway, I had a tweet that kind of hit, and I wanted to read it to you, Sarah.
Let's do it.
Toxic people aren't monsters 24/7 when they're not hurtful. They can be funny, kind, affectionate, and smart, often incredibly so. This two-faced nature is precisely why they're so harmful. We second guess ourselves when their good side is around, and the cycle repeats.
Yeah, completely. I mean, this is the same thing about abusers. Like, no one is abusive all the time. Otherwise, it would be so obvious to stay with them. You stay with them because you're like, oh, but the good times, and those times do come. Those
times do come, and I think I would even go a little farther and say that these people, because of this, I think we've talked about intermittent reinforcement before.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, which is like, when you're kind of not sure what to expect, that makes them even more addicting. So
yes,
you can have the perception that not only are they all these positive traits, but that they're the most funny or the most kind or the most affectionate, because it's just like that slot machine. And when you hit gold, it feels better than anything. The problem is you're mostly just desperately, not winning. You're just sitting there in Las Vegas, wasting your money. It's emotional money. Your perception can be very warped because of this intermittent reinforcement. So that's something to be aware of. Well, cool, guys. Thanks again so much for listening. We'd really appreciate it if you rate, review, and subscribe. It's a great way to help the pod. We love to see it. We want to thank our new patrons, D. Erica and Mike. Thank you so much for joining the Judge Duties. we're putting on weekly bonus episodes, which have honestly been such a joy. I mean, I'm just so thankful for this podcast. It's offered me structure. I've been DMing with listeners and stuff who follow my Insta stories, and I'm loving all the comments I get. I got a great comment. I got a great DM from someone recommending the attachment book.
Wait, I want to read that.
I've been reading it. Yeah, I would definitely advise you to read it. I think
because I want to borrow it from my friend because they covered it on their podcast, and I'm like, I need to know what my style is. I took an online quiz and it said I was dismissive, and I was like, is that even a style?
Wow, that actually kind of rings with me, Sarah. You do tend to shoot quite a few folks down. I've noticed that about you.
Who have I shot down?
That before. Emma F is the listener who suggested this. Emma, thank you so much. We literally love to get stuff like this, and I love to learn. And yeah, so the attachment book is interesting. I didn't know dismissive is not an explicit attachment style.
No, I think it was just the quiz was kind of like off-brand.
Right. Well, I just feel sometimes, I've told you this, that you'll go on a date and you'll be like, oh, well, he held his fork upside down.
That's not true.
I mean, I just feel like you have shot people down very rapidly has been a loose perception of mine. I think you've been burned a lot. And so you're very skittish and flighty. And I understand that. But I think it's, look, I think you should read the book. I'm not here to diagnose
I'll read the book. The
book is interesting. It kind of purports 4 different attachment styles, secure, avoidant, anxious, and then the very rare anxious avoidant. I don't remember how it pans out exactly. All I know is that I'm definitely secure. I lock in with someone and that's it. You know, I'm not, once I'm kind of in, I'm in. Once I hit that I love you point, I'm like totally in, which is why I just got so badly burned. Ouchie. But yeah, I forget how it kind of works. I think anxious people they get afraid when there's too much closeness.
I thought it was the opposite. I thought anxious people like almost separation anxiety, and then avoidant people get anxious when there's too much closeness.
That may be it. Honestly, I'm not that deep into it. And I was just like, I'm secure. I know what I am. And the book doesn't say this, but I immediately was just like, clearly secure people should go for other secure people, because there's no way I'm going to deal with the trauma of being with someone who doesn't love like I do. But apparently you're dismissive, so you're not even on the chart.
Well, I mean, this was like a janky quiz, but I'm probably it probably translates to avoidant would be my guess, and that wouldn't surprise me in the slightest.
Yeah, really interesting book. I'll keep you guys updated as I get through it. All right, well, let's lighten things up here a bit. And all right, everybody, we're gonna lighten things up with a little bit of guess the verdict. Here we go. AITA for telling my brother that his wife ruined her own and his life.
I'm gonna go with ESH.
ESH is wrong.
Boo.
So here is the story. OP went with bro to visit brother's wife in prison. Brother's wife did something. It sounds like financy, but it doesn't really say.
I want the story.
I'm pretty sure we covered this or so. I don't know. It has a familiarity to me.
I definitely remember reading it because I feel like we don't see stories often where like the wife is in prison. So that's why I remembered it.
Oh my God, I have to tell you a punchline right after this. Okay, so OP ends up saying on the ride home after the prison visit that he didn't feel sorry for his brother's wife at all because she chose to screw people over. And that hurt OP's brother's feelings. He wants an apology, and OP kind of doubles down, says he did nothing wrong, and bro just needs to accept what his wife did.
All right.
Crazy comment lady, crazy underscore comment underscore lady. You'll love it. That's a hilarious username.
That's really good.
YTA, read the room. To quote the Big Lebowski, you're not wrong. You're just an asshole.
Ooh, love that.
Yeah, that resonates with me. So I want to tell you this quote from this book real quick on this line, talking about women in prison. So this book I'm reading is about the brain and genetics and nature, nurture, all this stuff. And it just goes, like, did you know that there's a gene that if you have it, there is a, people who have this gene, 98% of people in prison have this gene, or 90% of people in prison, and 99.9% of people on death row have this gene. And, this gene is a huge predictor of like alcoholism and domestic violence. And he goes, that gene is called the XY chromosome. It's like, damn, he got me. He got me.
I love that. That's amazing. All right. AITA for calling my kid's father mediocre.
Oh, interesting. Well, there's no way. That's so mean. That is so mean. but okay, maybe it's in a context. I mean, NTA is always the safest bet. This is something I've observed, but I don't want to be a coward and just try to play that game. I'm going to go YTA.
Ooh, NTA would have been the safe and correct bet.
Of course.
So here's basically the deal. It was a very long post. I'll give you the short version of it. So basically, OP and their ex were together for 12 years, have 2 kids, 9 and 7. They split up 5 years ago, and the dad has just like been completely MIA.
Oh no!
I know. The kids went over like to see the dad briefly, and the dad starts acting like good, fun dad. And at this point, the 9-year-old is old enough to like pick up on the fact that he's full of shit. So the 9-year-old kind of like freaks out, starts to call him out. Then the dad flips out, starts yelling at OP for like turning the kids against him. OP's like, that's not what I did at all. He's 9. He can notice things. And then she goes, maybe if you weren't a mediocre dad, the kids would, have more love for you or whatever it was. So the top comment was, NTA, what the fuck is wrong with and the brother was there. NTA, what the fuck is wrong with your brother taking the side of your deadbeat ex? Sounds like a straight up misogynist. Your brother apologizes or he doesn't get to see the kids anymore either.
Interesting. A lot of moving parts there, but yeah, that rings with me generally. I mean, it doesn't feel like a very productive way of doing it, but it's certainly not wrong. I mean, you guys know how I am about kids and parents. It's like, get your act together, dog. Get
your act together or don't complain that the kids notice that you are full of shit.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the kids called this guy out. Yeah.
Like you're 9-year-old. Come on, dude. You're not slick.
That's kind of the ultimate own, a 9-year-old. It's like, dude, you're a shitty father.
Yeah.
AITA for making kids yell penis and vagina so it no longer was funny.
That's hilarious. I'm going to go with no assholes here.
No assholes here is emphatically not the answer.
No.
Now, it gets a little hairy. The top verdict was ESH, but I think it was a mistake. Teacher basically taught a course over the summer to 11 to 14-year-olds. They'd giggle at every use of words like penis, sperm, and vagina.
Was it like a health class?
I hope so.
I mean, yeah, you're right.
He doesn't say, actually.
Yikes.
So, no, it was math. That was, you bought 11 penises and gave 7 to Jimmy. No. So he made the class say the words over and over until it wasn't funny.
Okay.
He claims that with one of the words, vagina, he says it took them 8 minutes. Can you imagine just kids saying vagina over and over?
Oh my God, 8 minutes.
For 8 minutes? The horror.
That's awful.
It's a bizarre horror movie. So a parent complained, and the teacher, OP's response as a teacher was literally, leave me alone, stop wasting my time. Parents complained to boss, who is pissed that the teacher was rude and dismissive, and the boss has to apologize in front of the parent. The teacher refuses, the boss looks stupid, and OP claims he almost got fired.
Oh, wow. What a mess.
Top verdict, Pig Picks writes ESH, the tactic you use is good and it makes it so they're less immature to the words, but you're an asshole for reacting to the parent and your boss like that. You should at least try to explain the situation. I'm surprised your boss was that chill.
Yeah, it's not really even about the method. It's about how they responded to the complaint.
I mean, this is clearly going to be a controversial method because, it kind of scans at first glance where you're like, well, yeah, it desensitizes them to it. But then you also are making them say it over and over. That's going to linger on their mind, possibly forever. I mean, this is insane. You're basically having them chant it.
Raising a classroom of kids who are too scarred to say the word vagina.
Yeah, I'm not saying that this is the wrong method. I would just not necessarily be like, oh, clearly that's the right way to do it. I don't know. It's certainly going to be controversial. So
I think that's so funny. Okay. AITA.
But yeah, I don't know why he went ESH. I don't think it's an ESH. I don't think what he said is ESH.
Do you think the parent sucks for complaining? I don't know.
Yeah. So
maybe.
Anyway.
AITA for telling my ex-wife she didn't have to make a scene.
This has very much calm down energy, which no one likes. But then she did make a scene. Again, I'm going to take a risk here and probably get owned, but let's go ESH.
Ooh, close but wrong. So this one I actually kind of want to put in the group, but the gist is that OP and his ex-wife are split up. Obviously, you gathered that from the title. OP's daughter said that for her 15th birthday, she wanted to go shopping with OP, who's the dad, and the ex-wife, pick out a coat. So then OP just like loses the thread completely because he goes, my current wife, who's 31, also OP and his wife are early 50s. My current wife, 31, and our son happened to be at the store because their wife wanted to buy something at the same store that they're going to. And then basically like a saleswoman sees this happening and just like sees the family and says to the daughter like, oh, like, why don't you show grandma the coat? And then the mom like kind of loses it, but she doesn't lose it. She just says, I need to step out for a second. And then she leaves the store. And then she says, excuse me, I'll be right back. She leaves the store. And then OP is like asking his wife why he needed to cause a scene. So the top comment from not__good_happy said, I'm sorry, but YTA. First of all, your ex is obviously going to be insecure about the fact that you dumped her and married a woman 20 years younger. Getting called grandma while out with you and your new family is a slap in the face. How you don't understand that, I have no idea.
And all she did was walk away?
She did the opposite of cause a scene.
Yeah, that's the opposite.
Yeah,
oh my
OP
God.
sucks.
OP really sucks. Hate this guy.
Yeah.
Well, once again, Sarah is really destroying me at Guess the
Didn't
Verdict.
we both not get any?
Oh, I thought you got the first one.
No.
Wow, we both zeroed out.
Yeah.
We're getting too good at defense. We need to get better at offense. I mean, it's a little crazy because if you just go NTA all the way, you're bound to get it. It really is starting to even bother me, the level of NTAs when I go through.
I mean,
like,
just
all
because
these...
I feel like of the what's it called? Like the self-selecting nature of the sub because people downvote the assholes, which is annoying.
Yeah, people downvote, and then there's also, we're all seeking validation in various forms. Guys, again, speaking of validation, please rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. We really appreciate I don't know how it works, but it helps us get more listeners. Please submit AITApod.com. Please follow Sarah and I on Instagram and all that, and Twitter. I'm Holy Duck on Twitter. Sarah, you're Sarah Le Meme. Is that correct?
Yeah.
I don't know why I get confused. Sarah Le. I always think it's La.
I say Le Meme because that's how.
Le Meme.
It doesn't.
Oh, because it's
matter.
Levine. Got it. It's a little pun on your name. I'm a dumbass.
You just got that?
I don't know why. I just kept. Well, I guess it's the Spanish speaker in me. I go La Meme because meme is very feminine and. I don't know. And guys, if you want more AITA Pod, we would love it if you got on our Patreon. It's been really great to do bonus episodes. I've been opening up. I mean, honestly, it's been great for me. I have like I feel like I have a support group. Everyone's always
you
like,
do.
Thinking about you, Danny. But no, it was great because yesterday, this listener, Marvo, and I we were just talking about winter blues and stuff. And I was like, finally, now I get to be here for one of my listeners. They're always here for me. So I'm finally,
you got to return the favor.
Yeah, she's a gem. Thank you for joining us, Marva. All right, guys, let's do this thing. We got one heck of an F for you today. Our second story. Would I be the asshole for returning my hubby's Xmas present after he snooped and started using it? But first, AITA for medically tattooing my child under the recommendation of a doctor. Hear me out. I, 31F, and my hubby tried for 5 years to get preggo. Testing eventually revealed I have eggs of steel, and without medical help, I'll never get pregnant. So that's what we did. We gave our samples one petri dish, and 9 months later, I have 2 beautiful fraternal twin boys. Jake and Adam. Fake. Sorry, Jack and Adam. Thing is, Jake has a condition.
She changed her own
get your fake name straight.
Go on, get your fake name straight.
Without going into detail, requires shot once a week. Okay, so he requires a shot every week. That's a lot. Once he's older, he can take pills. I went to work and back to work, and mother-in-law offered to watch the babies. She's wonderful. Trust her 100%. They were 9 months, now 16 months during this time. She would give his injection as we had a schedule, 10 a.m. before snack and napped. Worked very well until a month ago when she gave the shot to the wrong kid. Ooh. Oh no. Now they may be fraternal, but they look identical. I'll be honest, my husband and I even mix them up sometimes. Everyone does. She immediately noticed her mistake, called 911, and they were transferred to the hospital. By the time I got there, Adam had been given the reversal agent, and they were both happily sipping on juice, loving the attention. We went home the same night, told to push fluids. He was never in danger. It's a very slow-acting medication that at worst would have given him diarrhea in a few days. Mother-in-law was beside herself. I tried to ease her worry, but she refused to babysit, so to daycare they went.
Oh.
This daycare has a nurse because some of the kids have medication, so she knew what to do, but the worry of mixing up the kids was a valid concern, and they would not keep name tags on. Doctor recommended a medical tattoo. Explained that they tattoo a freckle, no bigger than the end of a pencil eraser, on an area of skin that's easily seen when the child is under mild sedation, similar to like a dentist's office. Because of the area, it usually fades in 2 to 3 years. But by then, they should have developed more personal features, and they probably won't even need it redone. So after discussion, we went with it. It's a 2-millimeter brown freckle on his earlobe. From entering the office to leaving, it took 30 minutes, never felt a thing. Mother-in-law lost her shit the second I mentioned a medical tat. I tried to explain, but she just freaked out. So I put both kids on the floor and told her to pick up Jack and find the tat. She picked up Adam, so I handed her Jack, and after 20 minutes, she still couldn't find it. I stripped him to his skivvies. I finally pointed it out, and she went, "That's just a freckle. Why does he need to be stripped to his skivvies?"
I mean, I'm guessing that's where the freckle is.
No, it's on his ear.
Wait,
it's on his earlobe.
What?
Anyway. I just said my point exactly. Adam doesn't have a freckle there, so that's how daycare can tell them apart. She's still pissed and ranting.
What?
Once I explain to others and they fail to find it, they understand, but still think I went too far in tattooing my kid and altering their body.
Oh my God.
I believe I took the necessary precautions recommended by the doctor, and the tattoo will fade with sun exposure. And as he grows, by the time he's 5, it probably won't even be visible, or it'll just look like a faded freckle. So AITA.
I don't know. I'm struggling to believe that these are like fully grown adults who understand the concept of like nuance, who are saying, yeah, it works and it's totally reasonable, but I still don't like the concept of this.
I mean, I guess it does bring us a little bit ridiculous that kind of so many people are reacting negatively, but
unless
there
like
are
they grew up in, I don't know, like some insanely religious community that frowns on tattoos. I don't know. Well,
okay. I didn't want to frame it that way, but I was going to say, is it not a kind of a major thing with Jewish people that tattoos are not allowed? Would this fall under that?
It could. I mean, it all just kind of depends. It's more of like, it's more, I think, of a custom that was sort of like adopted because of the Holocaust and less of like, this is in the Torah.
Is that true? Oh, I had no idea.
I mean, I've researched it of like whether you cannot, like there's that rumor that you can't get buried in a Jewish cemetery, which like is not a hard and fast rule. I know there is a thing in the Torah about how like you're not supposed to pierce your ears because that was how they would mark the cattle. This is like some random fact I remember from my Jewish education. But I think it became more of a thing, I believe, after the Holocaust.
That's super interesting. Yeah, look, I guess maybe just to see this from these kind of tattoo deniers, I think obviously we do have a sickness in our culture. I guess I mainly am kind of seeing this in what is that shitty show called with like the 5-year-olds who are all made up?
Toddlers and Tiaras?
God, it's so bad it doesn't seem real. Yeah, so I think there's just a general concept that people get very freaked out about, which is kind of modifying children for clearly adult intents and adult purposes.
Yeah, but then like get mad at the people who pierce their kids' ears out the womb too.
Yeah, I didn't know. Is that a thing? People do piercing like a baby girl's ears?
Yeah, people do that.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's an area that people definitely get sensitive about. You definitely have people also protesting, circumcision. It's kind of that one really kind of almost on the teeter-totter of, cosmetic versus medical benefits, and and it's an irreversible choice. It's definitely an area that's fraught with controversy. That said, I don't really think there's much of a case to be made on how this could be bad.
No, it's not like they tattooed a little butterfly or something like that. Like, it's a freckle.
Right. As Carol R. put it, NTA, I guess I fail to see why anyone would care. It's not like you tattooed a teardrop under his eye. I mean, that would be...
that's his first birthday present. Don't get it twisted.
Yeah, he straight up killed someone. This is one heck of a baby.
Hardcore.
I mean, yeah, it's just like there's really no negative effect, even if it doesn't fade. Like if my mom was like, "Hey, we were like concerned because this is like a medication, and it probably wouldn't have killed you, but like it is a serious medication. It was mistakenly administered to you." I would be like, "Oh, that's totally valid." I mean, what?
The number of grown adults who are taking offense to this is what's weird to me.
Yeah, I think it is really coming probably from more of a philosophical objection than actually kind of getting in the weeds. Because because
it does say that they understand like when she explains it, but then are still opposed to the concept, which is like, okay, then do you have a better solution?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, well, if someone asked me, should I get a tattoo for my kid? My answer is going to be, of course not. Are you crazy? But like when you learn about the kind of specifics here, it really
this would be a good guess the verdict.
Yeah, that's true.
If you were the title that way.
Yeah, if we got medical and doctor out of the title.
Yeah, like AITA for tattooing my baby. That would be a really good one.
Oh my God. Yeah, I'd be like hard YTA, dude.
Be so good.
Don S. No assholes here. I think mother-in-law is just having a guilt freak out thinking your alteration of your child is directly because of her mistake. I actually think that's a really on point read. Maybe that's kind of what's going on. And now she's sort of like, oh, this is all my fault. And
yeah,
she's having a very emotional reaction to a baby being tattooed and then feeling like, it's ultimately her responsibility.
I could see that.
Just to channel something we've been channeling a lot, which is like, don't, it's like, it's toxic. It's toxic to worry too much. It really is. Yeah. It's to let your worrying get out of control. It does reach a point of, you think you're being selfless because you're concerned with other people's, but if that person is like, no, don't worry, we're doing this not because of what you did, but because this is a thing that can happen and you doing it just showed us that.
Yeah, I know. Part of me is kind of like, it's almost impressive that it hadn't happened before.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it really does honestly seem like a no-brainer kind of solution. Christina F. NTA, would she react the same way if they were girls and you only pierce the ears of one?
Well, I hope so.
I don't know what to do with that. Is it wrong to pierce these ears? It strikes me as wrong, but it doesn't seem
I would have
bad.
more of an issue with ear piercing than the tattoo because the ear piercing is aesthetic and this is really just for like, what's the word? I don't know, risk management. I don't know what to call it.
I guess, well, the other part of this that I thought kind of sold me on it was the impermanence and I don't know if she said painless.
They're like sedated, it sounds like.
They're sedated.
And also the fact that like even these grown ass adults can't find it. I feel like I have a birthmark behind my ear and I can't find it when I'm looking for it on purpose to like show the dermatologist.
Interesting. Well, you are a triplet, so they had to figure out you somehow. Kimberly B says OP isn't the a-hole, and I think mother-in-law's anger stems more from her own F up. It doesn't make sense to be angry about something that small and that necessary. I'm betting she still feels awful about the medication mix-up and is just being like this because she wants to direct her upset at something instead of herself. Yeah, I think we agree here. I don't, I think there's a time and a place. I can see people having a reaction to this, but good God, this seems like honestly a nice little kind of technological hack here. It's really practical.
Baby hack.
Baby hacks. AITA for medically tatting my child under the wreck of a daughter. Borderline validation post, but we're believing you, OP. Apparently there's some resistance here. I think we agree wholeheartedly. No assholes here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like that the mother-in-law is like still pissed and ranting about it.
She's projecting. I think everyone nailed that. I mean, I could come for her and say NTA, and she is, but I don't think she's like bothering anyone.
I could go either way. It doesn't. I'm not so attached to this.
She's described as still pissed and ranting.
Yeah.
But she didn't seem to take any shots really that I found. Like if she had said like you're a bad mother or something, I don't think she did that. So
okay,
I'm going no assholes here.
That's fine.
Would I be the asshole for returning my husband's Xmas present after he snooped and started using it?
Oh boy.
Just as a startup, I'd like to say that he literally went digging to find the gift. I hid it in our attic in a tote of summer clothes, which he literally never gets into. He never steps foot in that attic because he's terrified of spiders. So anyways, my husband has been saying for months that the only thing he wanted for Christmas was a VR headset. He's wanted one since they came out with them, so it's been a hot minute that he's been obsessed with these rigs. So when I found the VR he wanted on Black Friday for $200 less than the normal price, I bought it. When I got home with the gift, he was in the garage, so I quickly ran the item to the attic and hid it. The item was still in the box, in the bag, with the receipt, not wrapped. When I was in the attic, my husband came inside and yelled upstairs to ask what I was doing. I told him I was sifting through stuff to see if I had any extra snow pants for a friend. He didn't question it. At that point, however, he must have felt something was up because when I left for work the next day, he found the gift after he went snooping. Came home early from work due to them scheduling too many people on, and when I returned, I found him in the living room with the VR
my God.
all set up and him playing some game, meaning he went through the entire setup process and downloaded games already. I was so pissed off about this. Not only did he ruin the surprise, but I didn't get to see his face light up when he opened it, which I'd been looking forward to. As soon as he heard me clear my throat, he ripped the headset off and said something like, "Oh, you're home early. I found this and wanted to test it out before you gave it to whoever you bought it for." Oh my God. I will admit that me immediately starting to cry was over the top excessive. I don't like that.
I don't like that at all.
Just extremely bummed out. I think that's when he gathered that the item was for him. However, I walked out, got in my car, and took off to a local park to sit by myself for a minute. He texted me and said, "I'm sorry, I didn't know it was for me. You know how long I've wanted one of these bad boys, so I truly just wanted to test it out. I thought it was for your brother, but no offense, you were acting like you came home and saw me with another woman or something."
Nope.
I didn't respond. Would I be the asshole if I returned the gift because he snooped, opened it, and ruined the surprise for me?
Big fat nope. I don't know. Oh my God. Like, obvious. First of all, this is the obvious where like, I feel like we see these types of people a lot where they're manipulators, but they're not even good at it. And this guy's a liar, but he's not even good at it. Like, this is not a plausible lie. Like, it's actually worse to open up and try out someone else's gifts than it is to just admit that you knew it was for you and you wanted Christmas to come early.
Exactly. I mean, and I really don't like her language here.
I know.
I will.
This is why I'm like, okay, you wonder why I have trust issues? It's because like every fucking week we go through some story of like some person who does not know that they're in a toxic, abusive relationship. Like, this is what I do for fun. Yeah,
no, you're right. I mean, look, there's a lot of people they're not self-aware, they're not in check, and they have unhealthy dynamics. I don't think we need to reach so far and, say this is toxic and abusive. But
no, but I definitely think
here.
The fact that like this woman seems like she's been conditioned to think that any emotional response is a gross overreaction is definitely raising alarm bells for me.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. I'm just trying to say this because I feel like you're like everyone in the world is toxic, and I'm afraid you might be right, but I don't want to accept it. No, yeah, I think it's very scary that he would, first of all, just straight up lie and not take ownership over
this is such a bad lie.
It's such a bad lie. And like, here's the thing too, what he did is ultimately pretty freaking cute. Let's be honest. It's like, there's a childlike kind of playfulness to it that I kind of love. It's not appropriate or a good thing to do, but it's kind of like, look, he wanted his little toy and he had to play with his toy, and who among can really judge that? So it's kind of a shame that he then pivoted to being manipulative, straight up lying with this crazy, crazy lie. I was going to test the gift to make sure it works. It's like, do you know, MF, what quality control is? Because let me tell you, Oculus, they got QC, homie. There's a little sticker. If you look, they got it.
Yeah, I mean, I think if he had said like, "I'm so sorry, I just saw this and I really couldn't wait, and thank you so much. You knew how much I wanted this." Like, all right. Then I would be annoyed at him, but like that would be it.
Yeah, exactly. So it's really the dynamic that's so scary. Christopher C says, "Sounds like this would be a great gift to your brother." I think this is where I think the question that we're going to kind of fixate on here is what this kind of comes down to, which is, would it be the asshole if I return the gift because he snooped, opened it, and ruined the surprise? I view this as very vengeful kind of thinking, like, oh, let's just undo this. So I'm not going to take as hard of a stance as you, Sarah, and say, oh, this guy's toxic and abusive. I'm going to assume that
I don't think that he is abusive. I was just using this as a general point of like the types of people that we constantly see in these posts.
No, it's true. I mean, look, this raises like a couple red flags here. Her reaction to her own emotion shows something weird is up, and then him lying is obviously really bad.
And him saying, "No offense, you're acting like you came home and saw me with another woman." Like, that's just rude and unwarranted, and like, again, is completely invalidating her emotions.
Exactly. But, that's the thing, too, is that some people are kind of out of touch with their emotions and they're not fully self-aware. That doesn't mean that it's kind of like, well, just because they're kind of throwing out some toxicity doesn't mean they're toxic to the core. It just means this particular thing. Look, I understand why he would say that to an extent. I don't like it. But anyway, I don't like the idea that she would return the gift. To me, that doesn't seem like a move forward at all. That feels like a very vengeful move. And I don't really like it. It feels very punitive. It feels like treating him like a child.
It does feel punitive, but that's why like part of me thinks it's a move, because otherwise, like, what are the consequences for treating someone like that? Like, oh, you just get off scot-free and that's
discussion. I don't think punishing your adult partner is productive. In general, I'm not really for punishing. I think understanding. Look, the question of punishment always comes back to like, how can we get this person to modify their behavior, right? So is returning this ultimately going to reach an understanding on why this was wrong and what happened here? No.
Well, no, I think it's going to cause him to double down on his like gaslighty behavior.
Exactly.
But that's not, but to me, like, that's not a reason to like not show that you're not a doormat.
Yeah, I'm just saying I guess for me, I just don't view that as the sort of first move here. Would she be the asshole if she returned it? I guess, I don't know. I got to chew more on this. Stephanie N says, ESH, let him have it. Just give him socks from here on out every Christmas. Don't even waste your time. See, I don't like
I think that's more punitive than her just being like, oh, you're right. It was for my brother.
Right.
And just like pretending to take him at his word, sort of.
Yeah, I think a thought that keeps coming back to me is like, ultimately, what you want when you have something like this happen is you want the other person to almost ask for this, right? Like you want them to almost be like, you know what, I don't deserve this. And how to get there is by having them really understand what he took from her. And I don't think he grasped that at all. Like that's the joy of giving a gift that's so wonderful. And he completely robbed that from her, which is mean and selfish.
It's just like selfish and immature.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, you really couldn't wait until Christmas, you big baby.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, you didn't have to wait for Christmas. He could have just been like, babe, I really want it. I know you got it. Please, 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 please let me open it when you get home. It's just like...
I mean, yeah, that's one sin. To me, the bigger sin is like how he tried to play this off, so...
Hundo P, the
which, like, I know we were
manipulation.
both aligned on.
Emery F, NTA, he knew it was for him. He's lying his ass off. SMH, who TF would open and use a gift that they think is meant for someone else?
Yeah, like what is wrong with you?
Samantha M, ESH, he was being an idiot for opening an obviously hidden gift. You would suck for returning it. He's an adult. If I were him and you returned it, I would immediately go buy another one anyway. Well, good. He should buy it for himself.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what do you mean?
Ben C, NTA for wanting to return it, but you were missing out on an opportunity to ruin his favorite thing for him by reminding him of the shady thing he did to ruin your surprise every single time he plays with it. Also, anyone who snoops and opens a present early is probably cheating on you. Go through his phone.
This,
oh my God.
I think was the most liked comment, which even I don't think I'm that petty.
No, I don't think that's healthy or
oh my God,
normal. And I hope that you don't have that little trust in your partner. But I mean, look, this set off two red flags here. That she feels her emotions are excessive and that he would blatantly lie is like two pretty serious red flags. Amy M, ESH. If he thought it was your brother's, he shouldn't have touched it anyways. It's beyond rude to play with another person's intended gifts. You would be the asshole if you return it, but my petty ass would just not bother with getting gifts for a little while, at least until he learns to not lie to cover his shady ass.
I think doing a long con punishment for me is pettier than just returning this one-time gift, but that's just my take.
I don't see returning or not returning as kind of the central point here. I want there needs to be an understanding that's reached. I need him to take complete ownership over what happened. Yes. I need him to admit that he lied. And to me, if that can't happen, then you can forget about the VR headset. Yeah. It's really more about like, does this relationship have a way to move forward? Because this was a big deal.
Yes.
You know, this is super, super shitty stuff. And like the fact that she's bawling, crying, and then his reaction is to minimize and downplay that and go, oh, you act like I'm cheating, babe. It's like, well, you're an asshole. Like, yeah. So I don't know if we get all into title literalism. If her reaction was to right away return the gifts, I still don't even think I would call her an asshole. I would just say, I don't think that's going to be the best move for your relationship. You need to come to an understanding and this needs to settle out. Yeah. You're kind of doing a vengeful impulse by returning it, but I understand the impulse and, you know, you don't owe him the VR headset. So I don't think that makes her an asshole. Same. So I think where I'm settling is, would I be the asshole for returning my husband's Xmas present after he snooped and starting using it? I think we agree, not the asshole, and he is, but that's probably not the best course of action for this relation.
Yes.
All right, now it's time for everybody's favorite part of the show. Listener submissions. AITA for calling my sister the C word.
This is like the iconic post.
I am going to say the C word here, people, which I normally do not, but I feel it is necessary in this case. 2 pieces of context. My family pronounces the word aunt like aunt, not aunt. And this all took place during Thanksgiving 2019. Wow, reaching into the archives.
OP thinks about this every night before they go to sleep.
Yeah, I think OP, is just like, let's just go back to a time before coronavirus mentally, see what I can find. At the time, my 31M youngest sister, Marie, 28F, had recently given birth to her first baby, which was also the first grandbaby in our fam. We were all gathered around taking turns holding the new baby. And after the baby was passed to me, my older sister, Tabitha, 33F, says in a sweet baby boy voice, loud enough for everyone to hear, "This is your gunkle." And in a regular voice to everyone, that means gay uncle.
The fuck?
Now, I've always found that term ridiculous. Is that a term? I've
definitely heard it, but I've never actually heard. That seems like a term that they would say on Sex and the City, but like not a real term that people would use in life because that's fucking bizarre.
Well, I don't have a gunkle, so what do I know? I have a dentist uncle, a dunkle. That's kind of fun. Anyway.
Oh, that's cool. That makes honestly even more sense.
And in a regular voice to everyone, that means gay uncle. Now, I've always found the term ridiculous. What does someone's sexuality have to do with their status of being an uncle? So I pass her the baby and mimic her same voice style and say, "And this is your cont." That means crazy aunt. I'm not really sure how to deliver that.
I would go with cont.
Cont. Well, if a record had been playing, it would have scratched. Everyone's faces dropped, and my grandmother, now great grandmother, literally choked on her drink. AITA for calling my sister a cont.
That's all basic. That's so funny.
I mean, this is definitely a massive escalation in my view, because I don't think, and I hate to speak on behalf of gay people, but I don't think gunkle it's certainly distasteful, but I don't necessarily even read it as hateful, especially in like an intimate setting.
It doesn't matter though. Like, I think this woman she said something that was so unnecessary that clearly OP was not cool with. It doesn't matter that it's not hateful. Like, the intent doesn't matter in this context, I don't think.
Interesting. Wow, we might disagree on this. Jamie F says, "Did you pronounce it like cont? If so, then NTA. If not, maybe ESH. She shouldn't have said it, but you could have killed your grandma." Oh, that's funny. The victims of this being the reactors. Tarina F, NTA, it'd be one thing if you thought what I find to be odd pet name to be cute, but you have every right to be offended by her throwing your sexuality into the mix. Wait, so is OP the gay uncle? Did I get confused?
Yes, OP's gay uncle.
Yeah, I guess OP does have a right to be offended. It is irrelevant. I guess I just read it as a joke, but it is kind of like, oh, you're gay, which sucks.
That's not.
Yeah.
That's not a punchline.
You're right. Amy J says, "Despise the C word, but you're not the asshole. Sounds like she can dish it, but can't take it." Yeah. Sarah M, I feel like you're just bragging to us about how funny you are, and if you're not, you should be. This is, by the way, guys, the most liked post in the group of all time. I think it got almost 200 likes. Tammy P writes, "Definitely the asshole. Calling a woman the C word is always a classless move. I don't care what other things it might mean. That said, if your sister understood the crazy aunt definition you were attributing to it, nice comeback. But no one else did. Know your audience and their perception, so still the asshole."
Yeah, but like she explained it he explained it right after. So it's not like he just called her a cunt. Like,
yeah.
He made the joke fit in the context.
Yeah, I mean...
so I feel like the rest of that comment didn't really go with the context.
Yeah. I think the problem here is that it does read as an escalation, and there's a bias because it is such a good joke. Such a great joke.
It's such a good comeback.
As a comedian, this joke is very close to perfect. I mean, technically, I would say what it should have been delivered as, "And this is your crazy aunt," or as some people would say, "your cont." That would be the correct order. But otherwise, it's a 9.9 out of 10. But it is an escalation, right? Because you're dropping the C word, even though you're kind of cloaking it. And that's a little ugly.
Like, I guess, yes. I kind of feel like it's one of those things where it's like you're kind of the asshole, but it's understandable. That's how I feel. About this. It's like, look, you kind of like, you really dropped an offensive word. Grandmother nearly died. Like, the C word is definitely a slur. I think the C word's a slur. I'm actually ready to sit on it. Sarah, will you hear me on that? I think it's a slur. It's a slur for women. I don't know if it qualifies as a slur. I'd have to like honestly look it up.
I think it's a little tough because in other countries like Australia and the UK, they drop the C word like it's straight up water. But
Yeah.
in the US, I would say if it's not a slur, it's definitely approaching the slur line. I believe this did happen in the US because there's Thanksgiving here. So I think it's just a little bit too much of an escalation, you know? It's such a great joke, but like,
I guess it's just like, how would you respond though?
how would you respond? Hey, you know, I don't really appreciate what you said out there.
Yeah.
Right?
Ugh, yeah.
Look, I'm not even saying I wouldn't respond like this, because if you have a joke like this and you're about to drop fire, it's very hard to ignore that impulse. So I understand it. There's just really no way I can say that OP's not an asshole. Like she did randomly bring in sexuality, which is like disrespectful or distasteful or rubbed in the wrong way, but it wasn't hateful. It wasn't even necessarily mean. It was just a little bit like, you're gay, brr, and it's like corny. And
yeah,
like
I don't think that should matter. Also, I do think that, I mean, I think the sub rules are like, if it's you're the asshole but justified, it is NTA. I think we've had this situation before. I'm trying to look in the rules.
I don't see it as justified because I do think it's a clear escalation.
I just like the idea that like every time someone is rude to you, you have to take the high road. Like, I hate that. Like, that's just not realistic for life. And
yeah.
I feel like this was effective. Like, I bet she's not going to try that shit again.
Well, no, but I think sometimes there is a right time to be an asshole. That's to me how that boils down. That doesn't mean you weren't an asshole. You were an asshole, and that's it. That doesn't mean you have to take the high road every time, because sometimes it is better to be the asshole. But that also means that there can be more negative consequences from being the asshole, right? Like, had this been handled judiciously, it wouldn't have had this pop of a laugh, and it wouldn't have gotten to this most liked post. But, you know, you could have actually settled out with Tabitha and maybe come to an understanding, but instead she's like pissed.
But look, now you got the mild Facebook group fame.
Yeah, who doesn't want that? I mean, this is a prestigious.
You got the likes. So, okay, we're going ABJ, asshole but justified.
Yeah, I can hand that. AITA for calling my sister the C word. ABJ, asshole but justified. But she's kind of
the asshole too.
What's that?
I said she's the asshole too.
I don't know. I think it's like an unnecessary joke. Yeah, I guess you're right.
Like,
you know what? I'm calling this
jab.
ESH, Sarah. I'm calling this ESH. ESH, but justified asshole.
Yes. Okay. I agree with that.
All right, guys. Well, that's the app. Thank you so much for tuning in. Rate, review, and subscribe. AITApod.com to submit. Love in the DMs. Follow me on Twitter at Holy Duck. Follow me on Instagram, Danny Vegagram. Follow Sarah on both Instagram and Twitter. Sara Meme, SARALEMEME.
Thank you.
And we love you guys, and we'll see you next Monday morning.
Bye.